Hi, this is a quick overview video to show you how you can use sCoverage. And sCoverage is a coverage tool for Scala, and sCoverage supports both SBT and Maven. However, for purposes of today's demo, I'm going to be using SBT. Now, to get started, we need a sample project. This is a really simple example. So I've pre-set up this demo in advance. Basically follows the same Maven slash SBT project hierarchy structure. And for keeping things really simple, I'm using Sublime Text, but of course you could use the IDE of your choice, like Eclipse, IntelliJ, or any other. Um, so to wire things up, I've got some really simple examples. I've got a myUtil object here, which has two methods, a multiply and a convert. Now again, no rocket science here, really keeping things simple. And have another class here, employee class with a method full name. So again, not a very complex domain, keeping things really simple. Now for the tests themselves, I'm using Scala test. So if you're not familiar with Scala test, take a look at one of my previous videos. You'll find the description or the link in the description of this video. So have a look at that video again if you're not familiar with Scala test. Included the dependencies for Scala test, and here you'll notice I've got two tests here, and you'll notice that both these two tests cover the multiply and the convert method, but there's no test for the employee class. Of course, that's intentional. So that's the setup to get started. First thing we'll do is run SBT. So when we run SBT, again, you could run every one of these commands as a single line SBT and the command. However, I like to enter interactive mode because once you've opened it in interactive mode, then there's less lag time every time you run the SBT commands. So let's wait for SBT to load. All right, so that's in place. So first off, let's compile. All right, so just compile and let's run the tests, the Scala tests immediately after. Um, just making sure things are working. All right, as you can see, it's run the two tests. However, just by looking at this, we would really not know what the coverage is, what percentage of our code is covered. So this is where sCoverage really comes in handy. So far we have done nothing out of the ordinary, just run some test conditions, seen the results. All right, to get sCoverage working, so head over to the GitHub URL, which you'll find in the description below, and let's add the plugin. So copy over this plugin, and in our project, let's go to the plugin SBT, and let's add that there. And now that we have added a plugin or a project dependency, we need to run reload. All right, for good measure, let me just clean the target folders, and let's run the tests again. All right, same thing. But now that we have added our plugin, so if I do an autocomplete, you'll notice that we now have coverage. That's because we've added the plugin sCoverage. So let's run that. All right, it's run the coverage, and next what we need to do is coverage report. If we run a coverage report, just gives us the, just give me a second, it's only generated an XML. Let me just clean the output folder again, target folders. Let's just run compile. Test coverage and report. All right, yep. So now we have the HTML file, And at a glance, you can see what the stats are looking like. So overall statement coverage is 44%, and overall it's again 44% coverage. But what we can do is take a look at it over the browser. So here we can see that gives us a very nice visual experience in the browser. So you may remember we had two classes, the employee and the myutil. Intentionally, I had no test cases written for employee, and in case of myutil, you may remember that I've got two methods here. But in case of this method, there's only a single path, if you will, of execution, whereas here, depending on the parameter, it goes through different execution paths, and hence why it's only got 66.67. So click on the name of the class, and this is where scoverage is really handy. It gives us a visual way of understanding what parts of our code is covered through test case. So here again in our test, you'll notice that I passed a scan vote as being 18, so it's only got a test case for this condition, but there's no test case for this condition, and hence it's visually highlighting that for us. So to fix that, what we can do is we can write another test. So it let's change that. It should let or not let minus vote. All right, and we'll change the condition so that if somebody's 16 years old, it'll be false. All right, so that's it. So let's run test again. All right, and this time around we've got our third test case here, so it should not let minus vote, and that's cleared. So let's run coverage and coverage report. This time around, let's see if we go back. You'll notice that here it's now 100% because it's now got coverage for all parts of our code execution. And if I click on this again, you'll notice again it visually highlights which parts of our code have code coverage. So that's a quick wrap for this video. As you can see, it's really handy tool to give us a better understanding of our code coverage, and of course in all projects, as with all projects, it's highly unlikely you'll have 100% code coverage, but having an understanding of what percent of our code is covered, as well as understanding of what parts of our code is covered, can be really helpful in any project, and hence highly recommend the use of scoverage to do code coverage. Thanks everyone for watching.